Get into NHL playoffs betting with Sports Interaction. Before the game starts, live in play, or how your favorite player will perform. Doing it right since 1997, Sports Interaction is Canada's sportsbook. With the most competitive odds, Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus, please play responsibly. So now with the Flames out of playoffs, the offseason for them looks really interesting. And I know when the offseason comes, we'll talk more about where Johnny Gaudreau could go. But just in seeing the comments after that series ends, and talking about, my neighbors, it's as if they did everything to try to keep me here by shoveling my driveway and all that. Like, I got a sense of a man who really is going to weigh his options this offseason. And maybe if he might want to come back to Calgary, he's not coming back on the cheap.
He's definitely not coming back on the cheap. His next contract, I think, probably starts with a 1 and then has a 0 after it, probably in the 10 million range. Maybe he's feeling generous and he keeps it in the 9s, but let's face it, somewhere between 9 and 11 makes sense based on hit 115 points this year. Based on, the other players that he's keeping company with are all in that range. I saw a man that was conflicted in that sort of end of season interviews, because he's talking about, how much he's loved being a Flame. It's been more than a decade he's spent in that organization. Really does have a chance to go down as one of their all-time franchise legends if he does sign another contract there and play there through the rest of the meaty years of his career. But it's also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to hit the open market, to see what else is out there, to consider other options. And he sort of spoke in the hypothetical, like, well, if I leave, I hope people respect how much I loved it here. So, I don't think this is baked in, one way or another. And it's really all on, it's Johnny Gaudreau's decision and his family's decision. The Flames, I think, will do everything necessary to keep him. I don't think that contract itself will be the issue. It's really, does he decide if he wants to continue his career in Calgary or see if there's greener pastures somewhere else? And let's face it, the history suggests if a player of his caliber gets this close to free agency, plays out the whole last season of that contract, he tends to go and hit the open market. One of the few times it didn't happen was Steven Stamkos, but he even got to the point where he was meeting other teams and then, signed back in Tampa Bay. But whether it was like John Tavares, or you just look over the years, usually when guys get this far, they're through the hard part. The hard part is playing out your contract, is that if you get injured in your final season, there's no guaranteed deals. Like if Johnny Gaudreau blew out his knee this year, it might impact his future earning potential somewhere else. But, instead he went and had a monster season, the best season of his career in goals and points, delivered a big moment, a Game 7 overtime winning goal for Calgary in round 1. He took on some risk there. And usually if you've assumed that risk as a player, you're going to want to go test the market. It's not to make a prediction in this case. It's too soon to say with certainty, because I do think a part of him wants to stay, but a part of him probably has to wonder what else is out there for him. And so that's really what he'll be working through in these next, few days, as he gets to work with his agent, Louis Gross. And we'll have to see where he finds out. Because as I say, if it's one phone call, if he wants to stay in Calgary, he or his agent picks up the phone and calls Brad Treliving, and they'll get that deal done. But, first and foremost, he has to decide that.
If you're Brad Treliving, are you focused on Johnny Gaudreau more, or are you focused on Matthew Tkachuk?
Well, both, because I know that will sound like it's an on the fence answer, but I think you're trying to keep them both. Ideally, the Flames want to keep them both. Like I think they want to do everything they can to keep the band together. I know these are big decisions, but if you go over to Puckpedia or Cap Friendly, they've got cap room to sign some big deals. And so I think there's a world that could keep both. It might require further trades down the roster, but I would believe they'd be willing to do that. The thing with Matthew Tkachuk is he's younger. He's 24 years old. He's 1 year from unrestricted free agency. And so I think it's absolutely imperative from the Flames end that they're signing him to a multi-year contract. Preferably an 8-year contract, which is the maximum allowable at this point. You'd be buying all of Matthew Tkachuk's best years if you did that. But even if it ends up being less than 8 years, I think it's got to be a multi-year deal, because you don't want to go into a situation with him where it hangs over next season. He could sign a 1-year deal, but then what are we going to be talking about when no matter how next year goes, is he now gone? So I think from an organizational standpoint, you're attacking them both. You're getting to work already. having those conversations with the agents and trying to convince, find the right number and find the right fit. The beauty is, Matthew Tkachuk came out and said he wants to absolutely stay there long term, and I believe him. Again, he's going to cost a lot of money too. He had over 100-point season, and he is in the prime of his career, but that's money well spent. It's hard to get those players if you let them walk out the door. And so, I think it's a dual pronged approach, and you make clear to both of them that there's room for both to get what they want and to be happy and have long, successful careers together in Calgary.
Yeah, you keep those two. You keep that window, that contention window open. Even if the season ended on a very disappointing note for them, there's a lot of good with the Calgary Flames, especially up front for that team. You have to find a way to keep both of those guys. And I don't know what you do with Sean Monahan and Milan Lucic's contracts, but you have to find a way to clear some space to ensure that you're able to pay them both adequately and you're able to kind of put some good players around them so they can still be competitive. They could still be a good team if they keep both of those players.
Well, look, Sean Monahan's contract has 1 year left on it. So even if you're not moving it or buying it out or whatever this summer, and look, he's gone through a really tough run of injuries here lately, ended his season prematurely this year, which has affected his productivity, but he's still off the books next year. And so my point is, if you're signing both Gaudreau and Tkachuk long-term now, I mean, that's already a bonus that's built in, is the fact that you are losing some of your other heavier contracts. I think it does open a window for you to be making other moves in future seasons, even with those guys. And yeah, like they could get in a situation that looks a little bit like what the Maple Leafs have with, a couple really high paid forwards, and it's going to impact other roster decisions. But that's what it takes with great players. I mean, there's lots of teams around the league that are managing difficult cap situations because they got superstars earning what they've earned. And I believe from the Flames end, this is literally just convincing in the case of Gaudreau, it's in particular, it's just convincing the player that he's best to stay, that he's going to have a chance to win a cup, that the organization's all in on doing everything they can to put the best team around him, and they're going to reward him now. I still think that could happen. I don't believe that the decision's made. I'm not convinced. There's always been these rumors, Johnny Gaudreau, being an American from the East Coast, wants to play in those cities. Like, I'm sure there's that pull, like anyone, if you can pick your spot, the idea of playing closer to home and your family is nice, but he's also put a lot of work in trying to win a Stanley Cup there. And if he believes that is still open to him, I still think there's a world he signs in Calgary.